So this week, we're really going to be talking about some of the meat and potatoes of what it actually takes to succeed with an online business of any kind. I often describe to clients that email is the connective tissue in email marketing. You don't have that connective tissue, your whole body's going to fall apart. So to help me make some sense of this complicated organism of email marketing, I am thrilled to welcome Kennedy from Email Marketing Heroes. Welcome, Kennedy.
Hey, Bob. Lovely to be here.
So I'm excited today. Email marketing, you're going to have some statistics for me, but I remember hearing a statistic that startled me, and I've parroted it to clients ever since. I don't know where it comes from. I just keep talking about it. And it's something along the lines of some study was done that suggested 70% of buying decisions happened as the result of something in the email inbox.
Right.
And that has shaken me and it continues to shake clients. What is your experience of this? Actually, you know what? I'm doing it again, Kennedy. Every time I introduce a guest, I get carried away and I don't give them a space to tell us who they are. So, for the listener who's meeting you for the first time, can you maybe just tell me a little bit about who you are, where you are, and what it is you actually do?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of this actionable stuff as well. But just to give some context, so, there's a lot of people who come into this world and you're like, why should I believe them and stuff? Basically, I spent more than 15 years, almost 2 decades, traveling the world, performing as an after-dinner entertainer, combining psychology and comedy to make it look like I could read people's minds, which sounds crazy, but it took me all over the world. And then what I decided to do was I started helping other entertainers to fill up their calendars with really well-paying gigs so they could get paid what they're actually worth, because most arty, crafty, creative types undervalue themselves, which always breaks my heart. And so I started helping those people. And then other entrepreneurs, other business owners asked me to start talking about marketing and sales and growing businesses. And I found myself really in applying the psychology that I had to use on stage to have a career. I started applying that to marketing, started applying that specifically to email marketing, because I just think there's something really beautiful, and not even beautiful, like just simple, about the fact that we can send a message and it pings up on a whole bunch of people's phones and we can connect with them. So that's what I've been doing. I started Email Marketing Heroes about 6 or 7 years ago. And it's been amazing. I mean, honestly, it's just so amazing. I get to do this stuff, help people to grow their businesses, make more sales. And I get to do it from anywhere. I get to do it from my balcony on holiday. I get to do it when I'm traveling to a mastermind in Florida. I get to, wherever the heck I happen to be, if I've just got a little break between different things, I can fire off an email, which will bring in some sales, and it's just absolutely amazing. I don't think there's anything else we can do that does that. And so so far I've been able to help it's just over 8,000 paying clients so far we've helped with this stuff, and we've been able to grow a business of a few $1 million in revenue, and it's just it's just absolutely amazing to work with such a variety of businesses. We've got people just starting out getting their first subscriber, who might be a coach, all the way up to someone who's got 100,000 subscribers, got a multi-million-dollar business, and they've got different challenges and every single thing in between, from B2B to B2C. So, and that's what I really enjoy the most. Like, I've got my knowledge about email, deliverability, the psychology, all that sort of good stuff. And then combining that with my nosiness for knowing what other people are doing in their businesses means I get to tick all the boxes. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
So I think one of the things that I regularly come to is there are people who do things properly, there are people who do things well, and then there's the majority of people.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the people who are doing the email marketing, but the most common gap I come across in almost every business is, do you have an email list? Kind of. Do you use it? No, I don't use it.
Yeah.
This is where I'd like to begin today. So what does a good email marketing practice look like in the average? Let's pick a hypothetical coach / speaker / consultant. It's a good, fairly generic business,
right?
And if we start at the very beginning, they need a method of. So let's go back to the statistics. Actually,
Sure.
Why does this matter?
Here's the thing. I really believe that until you sort out and have a really simple to implement email marketing strategy, one that doesn't take you very much time, but one that's really effective, not efficient, but really effective. And they're very, very different words, right? Very effective method of your email marketing. Until you've got that, we're all making everything in our business harder. Think about it. If you want to do a webinar to find out if people are interested in this new topic that you want to do a product about or a service about, if you've got an email list, you've got a captive bunch of people who you can email and get them on a webinar. Or if you decide to launch a new podcast or a YouTube channel. So I recently launched our podcast, the Email Marketing Show, onto YouTube as well. And I was able to already have a foot up and get a few hundred views. And most people struggle with 8 or 9 views for their first few episodes. Why? Because I could send an email to a bunch of people. Or if I want to do some research and send out a survey to find out what product we should create next, I can send an email to do all of that stuff. Or again, if I have a new offer to sell, I can sell it. So every single thing we want to do in our businesses when it comes to having more impact, building an audience, and to actually monetize and make sales, every single one of those things is easier and never harder when you've got an email list. And when I say email list, it might be 100,000 people like some of our clients, but most often it's not. Because you think about, everybody says to me when they come on a coaching call, right, I've only got a small list. And people who've said that range from people who've got 73 subscribers up to like 600,000 email subscribers. Because it's all relative to what everything else you're looking at. The truth is, if you imagine that number, if it's 50, if you had 50 people who said they are interested in your topic, which they've done because they've joined your email list, if you had them in front of you, you'd be nervous about standing up and speaking. That's how many people it is. That's how important this stuff is. And what's really cool is at the beginning of that journey, look, send your first email straight away. Here's why. If you've got 3 people on your email list and one of them happens to be your mum, the good news is the first email you ever send is probably going to be the worst email you ever send. So you want to be bad in front of less people. In the world of comedy and entertainment, you don't want your first gig to be at the London Palladium sold out. That's a terrible place to try new jokes out. You want to do your first gig, like I did, in the upstairs room of a pub somewhere in front of 8 people who you're probably never going to see again, hopefully, or who are forgiving because they know you. So your first email is going to be your worst email, but you've got to do your first at some point. So wherever you are, wherever they came from, send your first one. Because until we start, we don't know what we're improving on, we don't know what we're moving, and we're making everything more difficult.
So one of the questions I get quite often is, it's not a question, it's more of an objection. I don't want to annoy my email list.
Right.
What happens if they react badly?
Right.
Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah,
I have an opinion.
And as you imagine, like you hear all the time, I hear all the time too, right? Here's the thing. How did you get people on your email list? Did you go to their house? Did you drag them kicking and screaming onto your email list? No. If you think about the psychology here, the only reason someone is on your email list is because they've got a problem. That's the natural human preservation stance of self-interest. So I've got a problem, and I believe you, because of something you put out, you might be the person who can solve it. So I've got an expectation when I join your email list that you better solve my problem, because that's the only reason I'm there. It's not like there's no one running around the internet going, oh man, I wish I got more emails, because emails are not like Pokemon. You don't have to catch them all, right? People are on your email list just because they've got a problem, and you better show up and serve them. You better show up. The second thing is, when we send an email, it's easy, and again, I hear this a lot. It's easy to think that you're showing up to their house and going, hey, do you want to buy this thing? That's not what's happening. What's actually happening is they've joined your email list. They're in your house. And if they don't like the decor, if they don't like that sofa, if they don't like your TV or that painting on the wall, I've got 2 Bengal cats, right? If they don't like my cats, they can leave. I'm not getting rid of the cats. Why should I change? If you join my email list and you don't like the fact that I swear, I use innuendo, I get excitable, if you don't like that stuff, guess what? It's fine. If you don't like it and the free stuff I'm putting out there, you're going to hate it when you're on a coaching call and I'm effing and blinding. I would rather you find out you don't like me before you're paying, right? So,
Yeah.
and there's a little unsubscribe link at the bottom of your emails. If they don't like it, you don't want to work with them.
So I want to come back. I want to come to email content and frequency and things like that in a
Mm.
minute. But let's talk about day 101. I've just day one rather. Day 101. Day
They want
one.
to work.
Day 101 would be a problem.
Yeah.
I've decided in my business I want to start looking at email marketing. The first anxiety is often, well, how do I grow my email list? I've decided it's important now.
Mm.
I'm going to start sending some emails to my 15 subscribers,
Mhm.
but I want more.
Mm.
What what are some simple things people can do to grow their email list?
Yeah. So the first mistake I see people making when they're growing their email list is and it's because this has been taught this way. And by the way, a lot of the things I'm going to probably share today are going to be at loggerheads with a lot of the common email marketing practice, and there's a reason for that. It's not for me to want to be contentious. It's because a lot of the people who've taught email marketing in the past are copywriters, people who are really good at writing sales copy, who are applying the copywriting techniques to email marketing, which is great. But I come from a different place, which is I come from an email marketing strategy element, where copywriting is only one element. So I do see a slightly bigger picture, and because I'm not a generalist copywriter and I'm all about email, that's why you're probably going to hear some different stuff today. Just to head that up. So to grow your email list, one of the bits of advice that's often given is you should look at who your ideal customer profile is, your ICP is, and then decide, okay, what is something that they would find drool worthy, irresistible, they'd crawl over broken glass to get. And that's good. The problem then happens is when you try and convert those people to the thing you're selling,
Mm,
because that is not the same thing. So the question to ask when you're putting together some kind of what's called a lead magnet, a freebie, some enticing, and let's be honest about what it is. It's a bribe. It's, hey, give us your email address and I'll give you that. It's currency. It's a thing you're selling for their contact information. So the thing that we should be doing instead, and it just results in way better conversions, is to come up with a free gift, that lead magnet, the thing that attracts these new leads in. We want to come up with something that does that attracts the person who buys the product. So you want to reverse engineer it from the product, not from the person. So if you've got, let's say I've got a thing called the Email Hero Blueprint, which is like an in-depth program about all things email marketing. I know that one of the types of people who will buy that is a coach. We have a lot of coaches in that program. Great. If I attract all coaches, that's not going to really result in a high conversion rate to my Email Hero Blueprint program. If I say, cool, what is the person who buys the Email Hero Blueprint program? What is the best thing I could dangle in front of them that they're going to reach out and snatch? When we do it that way, we're thinking about the intention of the new lead. We're not thinking about the quantity, because if you had 15 people on your list and all of them are going to give you £1 million, you don't need 16 people for most of us. Right? It's all to do with it's really to do with what is that conversion rate of the quality. And the good news, by the way, about having a smaller list is you're going to get better open rates, better engagement rate, better deliverability. The clients who I have to help with that email deliverability engagement are the ones with the whopping huge lists,
mm.
because the technology is against you. So actually, you do have an unfair advantage with a smaller list. So the first piece of that puzzle is having the right lead magnet, the right attractive carrot to dangle that actually predisposes them to becoming a customer. Because you don't want email subscribers. You don't want leads. You want prospective customers. And there's a big difference there.
So one of the questions again where people get really anxious is frequency. How often should I email?
Mm.
And when I first discussed, hey, client, you need to look at some email marketing, they'll come back to me and say, oh, yeah, we could do a monthly newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I both know that a monthly newsletter is unlikely to achieve any traction.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were your client and you
Mm,
kind of vaguely know what I do, and I'm kind of the example we're playing with you,
mhm.
what would you be telling me I should be doing from an email marketing perspective?
Sure.
What drives success for people like me?
Yeah, so let's look at the results we want. So let's reverse engineer that outcome again, right? We're not just going to talk straight about the copy and all that sort of good stuff, right? So the first thing we're going to look at, what's the outcome you want? Well, the outcome you want is probably sales appointments, some kind of strategy call booking, something like that. And that's going to come from somebody understanding who you are, understanding what you do, and understanding how it is you can help them. And they're only going to do any of that if when they see an email from you, they go, oh, that's Bob. He does
Mm,
this. So if we email once a month, the chances of me remembering who the heck Bob is, never mind what he does, are minimal. Like the fastest way to get reported as spam is to only email every now and again. Because think about your own behavior. Some chump's name lands in your email inbox, and you're like, "Who the hell's that? And how do I get on the list?" And grr, the dirty, rotten spammer. And the first thing you want to do is you want to hit the spam button. That's not a nice attitude to go into your emails with. It's very difficult to get somebody from really upset and angry through to, oh, I'm going to book a call to actually speak to this person. That's a long bridge to walk. So instead, if we want to increase our chances of working together, and bear in mind, we live in a world where now, literally as we're talking about this, the lead conversion window, the length of time it takes to go from cold to sold, is longer than it has ever been. Like in the past 3 months, everyone is reporting it is taking significantly longer to turn people into buyers. So if it's going to take 3 months to turn someone into a customer, like you're going to take even longer if you're emailing less often, right? So the very bare minimum, and this is going to like get some people curling their toes, I'm afraid, but here's just the truth: is if you're not emailing 3 times a week, you may as well be not emailing, and I really, really mean
wow.
that.
Can you go into why that is
Yeah.
a little bit more deeply?
Mm,
Because I get it, I can see that, um, but I think that will, as you said, have people curling their toes.
mm,
So let's look at the trade-off and
yeah,
maybe some examples.
yeah, for sure. So here's the thing: if I send you an email 3 times a week, you're going to see my name, you're going to see Kennedy, Email Marketing Heroes, and you're going to know who I am. So at the moment that you're ready to take the step and really have some impact with your email marketing, it's going to be me you pick. I'm creating what I call the environment of zero competition, right? Where you're not choosing who, you're just choosing when. And if we can do that in our businesses, well, we're just with our prospects creating a thing of when they're going to buy, not who they're going to buy from. Because if I'm only emailing you once a month, and then somebody else, and I'm like teaching you about email marketing, how it's great, and you're like, oh yeah, now I suddenly get it, and then somebody else emails you with an email marketing offer in the meantime, and you buy from them, I just did all the work for them. I just teed them up. I just bought the lead. I just did all this hard work for them to hand my money basically to somebody else. When you email 3 times a week, that is enough frequency for somebody to start getting that relationship with you, to start like, and we'll talk about what to actually put in those emails in a moment. But thinking
Mm,
about that, the second piece of it actually is to do with actually getting the emails delivered. When you send, and I'm not going to get too technical on this, but basically imagine Gmail and all its band of merry men and women. Every time you send an email, it looks and goes, right, this person just sent an email. What should I do with it? Gmail is the biggest recipient of emails in the world, right? So its job is to decide what goes into the primary folder, what goes to spam, what gets blocked at the server, what goes into promo. It decides all of that in an instant, pretty much. So when it gets an email from you, it quickly brings that email, it has a look at it, and says, what should I do with this? And here's the thing: if it doesn't have much information from you, if you haven't given it many emails in the past, it's going to be cautious, obviously, because that's what it should be. When
mm.
somebody comes around, when you meet a new friend, you don't go, oh, by the way, Bob, I've left the house open. Here's the keys. I'm going out for a week. Like, you'd probably be irresponsible to do that. And Gmail's far from irresponsible in this factor, right? So it's going to go, well, I'll just be a bit cautious. Whereas If you're doing that versus me over here, where I actually email 5 to 7 days a week, right? I'm giving Gmail lots of information that every day I send an email, every day people receive it, and almost nobody reports it as spam. Lots of people open, lots of people click the links, lots of people reply. It goes, oh, when Kennedy sends an email, people like it. We're going to put him in the primary. So it's got enough information. And the third reason to email more regularly, and this is the most important, is because the more often you email, the quicker you're going to get better. Right?
Hmm.
Tony Robbins, right? Anthony Robbins talks about the way he became the world's greatest motivational speaker was he found out that Jim Rohn, I think it was speaking every week, in every single week. And Tony decided, if I'm going to get as good as Jim or better, I need to speak 5 times a week. And that's what he did. You only get better at something faster by doing it more often. Also, because it's regular, you become a habit of it. It becomes more of a habitual thing. So
Yeah.
you're going to get better results, you're going to get better deliverability, and you're going to find your success with it better and quicker if you do it more frequently.
So there is the whole question of content then, and there is a trend for value-based emails, and there are other emails that just make the offer. Then we have the whole Gary Vaynerchuk 80-20,
Yeah.
80% value, 20% offer. It seems very complicated. There's all kinds of frameworks and content strategies, and simplify it for me. What should a good email marketing content strategy look like, and how does it differ from something like a social media strategy?
Right. The most important thing, I think, with any of us for our businesses, because we're generally us or maybe us in a small team, same for me, right, is we have to reduce the friction. Everything we add in our way to make it better, that actually makes it harder for us to do it, means we're less likely to do it. So
Yeah,
even if it's not going to be a better email, but it's an email that gets sent, the sent email is always going to bring in more business, more trust, more everything than the email that you go, I don't think I could possibly send that because I haven't got the right picture and I haven't got the right. Just send the freaking email, right? Just send the
yeah.
email, please. So remember that with everything that we're going to talk about, if you're like, I couldn't do that, then don't do that bit. Just send the email. I'm sure many of us have a Google Drive, which is like an elephant's graveyard of half completed email campaigns. And you're laughing because it's true. We've all got them,
Oh yeah.
right? And we've started and we haven't sent, but those are the ones that it's a wasteland because it's a waste. So send the email, send the incomplete email. My emails almost always have typos in them. Why? Because if I was to have every email proof checked, that would slow me down. So if you can't deal with the fact there's going to be typos in my emails, you can't see past that imperfection into the reality of things, then it's not, you don't want to be on my email list. That's fine. That's cool. If you can't deal with that, that's all right. But some people can, and that's cool too. So the content itself, think about what is the shortest path to resistance. And the answer is actually it's a combination. If every decision that you have to make becomes more decision fatigue, I don't know about you, but I think a lot of us suffer from severe decision fatigue. Like, please don't make me decide something else. Please. What's for dinner? Don't care. Is it warm? Great. Is it supposed to be warm? Great, then I'll eat it. Is it warm? Yes, it's ice cream. Don't want it, right? But we want to make sure that we don't have decision fatigue. So how do we do that? We create frameworks that allow us to do this. So a simple framework would be to go, cool. In my emails, I am no longer willing to decide, is today a value day or is today I dare make an offer? I don't want to make that decision anymore. So I'm not going to. Every day, I'm going to give value and make an offer. And because I'm doing it every day, the offer doesn't need to be as hard, as aggressive. Like sometimes we're launching something and we'll just do some, hey, we've got a webinar, you need to register, we're starting soon, all that sort of good stuff. Yeah, we're going to do a little bit of that throughout the year. That's what I would call a campaign. But between your email campaigns, this sort of leans into planning, right? Think about your calendar. If you look at your calendar for the month ahead, and you plot onto it the 1 or 2 campaigns, sequences, events you are going to be promoting, you'll notice that, let's say you're doing 2, and two's quite a lot really for every month. Like that's quite heavy. Most of us can't actually keep up with 2 every single month. Believe me, I tried it, and I only lasted about 5 months. I was like, I'm exhausted. Can I please not write another email or another sales page? But if you did 2, and they each last 5 days, that's 10 days of the month that you're planning on sending emails that will make you sales. But that also means there are 20 days in the 30-day month which you are planning to not make any sales. I don't
Mm.
like the sound of that very much. They're like money black holes. It's also relationship with your list black holes, because we're all on those people's lists who only ever email us when they want something. We've all got friends like that who only ever text us when they want something. Hey, how are you? Yeah, what do you want? I only ever, we've all got those people in our lives. So what do we do between those times? What do we do between the campaigns? And by campaign, I'm talking about a thing that has a beginning date and an end date. It might be a
Yeah.
webinar you've got coming up, or your book launch is happening, or whatever that is. So what do you do between times? And that's what I call a snowball email. A snowball email it's a little email that you throw out. It sort of taps somebody. It doesn't make a huge impact on its own, but together these snowballs create the avalanche effect.
Mm.
Right? So we're just going bap, bap, bap. And over time, that little drip, 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 at some point, you'll say the thing that makes the person go, I get it. Now is the time. Now you've said the thing. And here's what a really lovely thing about email more frequently is. If you're trying, most of us are desperately just trying to find the exact words that resonate with the audience that makes them go, oh, now I get it. Well, who's going to find that magic phrase fastest? The person who's emailing once a month, or the person who's emailing 7 days a week? I get 7 days a week. I get 7 shots a week to figure out the best way of describing it. If you think about the George Foreman grill, you know that George Foreman grill, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they ran millions of dollars worth of advertising on the George Foreman grill, right? Millions of dollars of infomercials and that kind of thing. They tested the heck out of this, and they realized there's a little shot in that ad, you probably remember it, a little shot where they show them, they fry some sausages or something on the grill, and they show this little shot of them pouring out of the bottom of the grill the grease and the fat.
Yeah.
They found that when they don't include that shot, their numbers tank. That's the shot. That's the scene. That's the word. That's the phrase that does the selling. And how many shots do you want to have at figuring out that shot? 7 a week, please. Because when I find the one, I'm like I'll send an email about a new offer, and like the first email, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And then it's like, it's okay. The next one, email number 6, people go bananas. What do I do with that information?
Yeah.
I go change the subject. I go change the headline on the sales page. I go change the theme of the whole thing. I write the webinar around it. Like everything comes out of that information. So we're going to combine value, because that's where we're going to actually connect emotionally with our audience, and making a soft offer in every email. Here's a story. Here's a aha moment. Here's a moment. It doesn't have to be a great, wow, my gosh, you changed my world moment. It has to be a little moment of realization. Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. Oh, that's really interesting. I hadn't really thought of applying it in that way. And then, hey, if you want to make this, and there's only 3 reasons people buy, only 3 reasons people buy. And that's what you include in the call to action. You're going to say, if you want to make this faster, if you want to make this easier, or if you want to make this more certain. That's the only 3 reasons people buy. Speed, ease, certainty. That's it. Okay?
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to accompany quite a lot of people through things like their very first social media post.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find people often struggle with is that first post, and I'm guessing it's very similar with the first email, always tends to be the unified theory of everything.
Yes.
And I'm always pushing back saying, no, we need to look at each post like it's one stitch in a tapestry, and it's the tapestry that tells the story. Your snowball analogy is very similar. It's very powerful, and I hope people paid attention to that. The snowballs are the thing. It's the effect of the snowballs over time that we really want to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And I certainly, listening to you, I've had an email marketing slap in the face today, which has been really useful. It's very timely
Sorry,
for
my
me.
friend.
No, it's brilliant. because I think with my email list, and I think a lot of people listening, we've worked hard for these lists a lot of the time,
Yeah,
and
you
we
work
know
hard.
people want to hear from us. Um,
Here's another beautiful thing about email compared to social media, by the way, because if you're like, oh, I've done social media, or if you're afraid of doing social media, the good news about email marketing is nobody knows how many likes you've got. Nobody
yeah.
knows how many subscribers you've got or followers you've got. On email, it feels like a one-to-one private communication. So even if you've done social media, you've done the hardest one already. If you're still afraid of doing social media, then this is easier because there's no social proof. There's no how many people liked it, how many comments, how many followers have you got. There's none of that. You send the email, you could be sending it to 1 million people, you could be sending it to one person. They don't know. They just know they opened up their phone while they were waiting to pick the kids up at the school gate, or while they were waiting in line for the takeaway to be ready. They just know they got the email right to their device at that moment. It popped up and they get to consume it right there and then. It's almost like social media, but without the pressure of social proof.
So people listening will be familiar, hopefully, with the idea of a welcome sequence or an
Mm,
onboarding sequence where
right.
you get 5, 10 emails that take you from stranger to familiar, and these are automated. I don't actually want to talk about those because I think people listening, they hopefully get the point. And if you want to know what an email onboarding sequence is, Google it.
Yeah,
What I
actually,
do want to talk
I
about,
just did a really great new YouTube video about the perfect welcome sequence. So if you just go to YouTube and look for the email marketing show, and we'll probably put a link in the show notes, I guess, to my email welcome sequence. And I'll walk you through this really advanced one. So yeah, we'll not even talk about it today.
but what I do want to talk about is a question I get asked all the time, which is email outreach, sales email outreach. And often the question I get is, can I slash should I? And you know how to end this question, don't you? Buy a list.
Right, right.
What's your perspective on this?
So there is a distinction between what we've been talking about so far, which is what I call opt in permission based email marketing. Those are people who have heard about you speaking at an event, networking, seen you on the internet, in that Facebook group, in school, wherever. And they've gone, yeah, I want to give you my email address. What we're talking about here is going and investing in a list that you can mail. And these are very different things. So if you're going to
Hmm.
go and buy a bunch of data, they are not opted in yet. So your job with that database, if you're going to do that, is to get them to opt in, right? So we're going to turn it, it's just another algorithmic reach of people. So important stuff if you're going to do that, and you can do it, and I have done it with my entertainment business. Actually, I bought email lists and actually physical addresses of event organizers in X companies, and sent physical mail out as well as emails. You want to first of all do that from a different email system than your email marketing system, because your email marketing system will shut you down if you don't. Like, it is against their terms and conditions to do cold outreach. But there are specialized platforms which are for cold email outreach. So if you're going to do it, like with everything, get a specialist service, get a specialist to help you with that. So should you? Maybe. But your job for those emails needs to be very much about, hey, I've got this thing. Would you like it? Click here and opt in. And now they're in your email marketing platform.
Yeah.
Yes, they are separate things, but it is valuable to do.
Yeah. I think it is important for people to understand and for us to discuss it because it is email marketing. There is a place for it.
Mm,
But like you said, I think it needs to be seen as distinctly separate from the opt in relationship marketing.
yeah,
What we're talking about here, I think, is very much a campaign to promote a product or a service over a brief window, and a proportion of those people hopefully will migrate across to your permission based marketing.
exactly, exactly. And that's usually going to be, I was asked, actually, I've not done it yet, but I've been asked to put together a whole program about cold email outreach, because I've done cold email outreach. I did it to actually about maybe 2 years ago. I wanted to get booked on a lot of high profile podcasts. And I
Mm.
was like, okay, let's do this with cold outreach. And it worked very, very, very well. But it only worked very well because the approach I took was very personality driven. Like it was very self deprecating. It was like even the people who said, no, this is not a fit said, but this is the best outreach email I've ever seen in my life. So
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure the actual brand wasn't going to be damaged by the cold outreach. And you've got to be careful with that, especially if you're getting one of these companies who specializes in outreach and actually they just make you look stupid, which I've seen
Yeah.
happen. And I've seen that brand damage happen for some people I really respect. And I've gone back to them and if I've known them personally and said, look, just so you know, this just doesn't look good for somebody of your status, and then, made some tweaks.
So the one question that I really have to ask, because it's becoming the obvious question, is what is the place for AI within making this as efficient as possible?
Mm.
What is a what is a what does good practice look like from your perspective? Because I don't think we're any longer in the place where we can say, "Oh, you shouldn't use AI." It's unrealistic now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we were having this conversation even 6 months ago, I would have said it's not ready. I think 12 months ago, 18 months ago, AI was a magic trick, right? It was like you put something in and you would tell your friend, "Oh my god, AI made this." And the fact that a computer made it was amazing, but it wasn't good enough to send it, right? It's like your kid does a lovely piece of art when they're 6 years old. It's lovely for the kid and it's amazing that a 6-year-old did it, but it's not good enough like you're going to use it on your website, right? Um I think that's a really important distinction. But now it is ready. Like it is absolutely possible. It is absolutely doable, and it's something we should all be doing. And I'll tell you why. The big reason people don't do email marketing, one is because they don't have a plan of what they're going to promote when. Well, if you have a plan and promote and do what you said you're going to promote on those days, you'll have a plan. Secondly, they run out of steam, the motivation disappears. So what you need to do is have a strategy that does not rely on motivation, but instead relies on discipline. Three, they get bored of them of the same format and formula of their emails over and over again. Like for me, we all have a default. Some people default to always telling client success stories. Some people default to talking about their struggles. I default to outrageous opening statement, some kind of innuendo, and follow it with a call to action. That's kind of my default. But if we do that over and over again, one, I get bored of that. My audience gets bored of that. So you need to refresh your formula. I call it a framework for your emails. And the last
Mm.
bit is the intimidating blank page where all dreams go to die. And that's where you open up your email platform and that blinking cursor just bullies you until you type something. And that's why AI is the best thing. So it's really great for creating your first draft. It's really great. And if you get it to a point, which I have with ours, instead of one of our programs, I just taught our members in what we call Email Hero Academy. I just taught them how to make their own custom GPT so that it sounds like them in their voice. It understands their products and services, all of their offers, and it also doesn't sound like ChatGPT anymore because you can train it out of that stuff. Then I add in any of my email frameworks, and it can now write an email for me.
Mm.
So that's great. And then I can go in, and now mine's at about 90%. So I can go in, and I just tweak and go, actually, my cat's not called that, which I wouldn't make that mistake. It knows my cat's names. But I never actually, it might go, I was watching some football, and I'm like, nope, more likely to be at the theater, whatever. And I'm just treading on those things. So it's really good for overcoming the first draft. And all that blank screen, and then just tweaking it, and it works very successfully as long as you don't think of it as a magic button.
Yeah.
Don't assume that what it produces is brilliant. You still have to go in and check the open rate, the click-through rate, and the conversion rate, so how many sales you made or appointments you made from that thing, and tweak it in favor of that. Don't assume that because it's AI, it must be doing a great job. No, it's just doing the best job it can, the same as you would when you're writing. So still, the mistake people make is they just copy and paste from AI, make a couple of tweaks, send it, and don't even look at the data. So do go check the data to make sure what it's producing is actually getting you results. And if it's
Yeah.
not, retrain it, retweak it.
I think that's the thing. You really do need to make sure that by the time this is sent, it looks and feels to you
Mm.
like it's your email.
Yeah.
I see emails. One company in particular for whom I'm a client, I see their email marketing coming in. All the visual signals that ChatGPT generated this are all there.
Yeah.
The
The,
long cursors, the
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 EM dash.
yeah the what's the word, the superlatives and flowery language that no human being would ever use.
But you just put into the GPT prompt, you just put, so here's some of my favorite pieces to put into your prompt, right? Put in there, never ever use the EM dash. And here's some copywriting stuff to put in there. Never use adverbs, use stronger verbs.
Mm,
Write in an active tone. And my other favorite is to write like I'm having coffee with a friend, not like a TED talk.
very nice.
So
I'm
now
going to
you're
have to
telling
go
it
back.
how to behave.
So there's AI is too big for us to really get deep into, but hopefully people listening can start to see I could make this happen. We don't need to talk about which email marketing platform to use. I think that really needs to come down to your individual situation.
It does, but
Um,
here's my trick for figuring out which one to use for you is figure out the one of the typical use case of something you would want to do in your email marketing, legitimately something you will want to do. Go take a free trial of 3 or 4 of the platforms. Try and do that one thing in all 3 or 4 of them, and whichever one makes you want to throw your computer out the window least, use that one. That's how you do it.
so I do have one more question. It's an important one. It's the whole question of balancing. I need to make this look like it's literally just an email that's been generated in Microsoft Outlook. Is that even still a thing?
I don't.
Gmail,
I haven't got a clue.
um, all the way through to this looks like the most polished marketing email anybody's ever sent. Whiz bang graphics, the works,
Yeah.
thoroughly branded. What's your position on this in terms of the whole question of branding and visuals in an email?
Mm. Every test that I've ever done and had clients run, if I'm sometimes I'll like say in our membership, like, hey, I'm thinking about running a test. Who wants to also run that test to get some cumulative data? And they'll jump into it, which is always fun, like getting that hive mind from people doing this stuff. Every test we've ever done, when you add graphical elements, and I'm talking about a nice header image along the top, I'm talking about a background color around the edges and so your middle bits lighter, every single time the numbers for deliverability, open rate, click through rate, and conversion crash awfully. And I think it's because this is not psychology based. This is not fact based. This is literally a feeling and trying to sort of post justify. I think it's because when you open an email that looks like that, you're like, this is a company, they're trying to tell you go in and your resistance increases even by 5 or 10%. But that 5 or 10% is conversion rate, right? Whereas if it's an email that has none of that stuff in, well, one, the email physical size of the file of the email is smaller, so deliverability is going to be better. So more people are actually going to get the email in the primary. Because think about it. If you're going to send an email to your mum, you're probably not going to put a lovely banner along the top and probably not going to do that. So I would always err on the side of making it more personal. You can still make it professional. Like you want to make sure it's got a fairly good font size. You want to make sure it's laid out and you could sometimes I'll put like a little headline at the very top of the email, like a big, like almost like a sales page headline of a few words, just to change that pattern. But it's important that these are pattern interrupts. This is
Mm.
resetting our audience's attention by doing different things. So I always err on the side of simplicity. Plus, bonus, the simple ones are really fast to produce. So I don't have to go and worry about finding the right image or getting that AI to make it the right image. I can just send the email really, really quickly. And actually, just to go back to the AI as we mentioned, the other good thing about training an AI on your voice is it means you can get a VA, even one who doesn't have English as their first language, to do the first draft of your emails for you, right? So it doesn't have to be you. It could be your daughter, your son, it could be a parent, it could be a sister, it could be somebody else, which is really, really nice as well. But
Yeah.
yes, this simple thing is really also think about it. J.K. Rowling wrote, I can't say her name, Harry Potter woman, right? She didn't break part way through the book and go, "Oh, I can't really describe this. I'll just do a picture." No, she didn't do that. Why? Why does fiction not have pictures in? Because the point of reading is that we immerse people in the world that's in their heads. So, and a great example of this is if I do an email about, oh my God, my mum's just bought the worst sofa ever. It's hideous. And then I put a picture in and it's your sofa, we immediately disconnect. Whereas if I just say my mom just bought the worst, most hideous sofa, in your brain, you imagine what you think is the most hideous sofa.
Yeah.
So now we're aligned. And now it becomes three-dimensional, now it becomes emotional, it takes up more of your brain, and therefore it's more persuasive and impactful. So there's no place really for that. Some exceptions. One, to interrupt the pattern. So, for example, if I'm going to be sending people to a video where I'm going to be telling them about something, I might put a little GIF of like a little bit of the video of me in the email. Again, because it just gets a bit of attention. Or if there's been lots of comments, like we did a webinar on Monday, and the comments section of the webinar was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life that I've ever delivered. People were going crazy. So I grabbed a screenshot, and so when we did the webinar again, I included the comment section saying, "People lost their minds on Monday. Look." And I'll talk about why that's important, maybe in the three things part that's coming up later in the episode. So there are times for visuals, but it should look. If it looks too calculated, then that's when people get that resistance comes up.
Yeah. That I think is really useful. I think it is a delicate balance, and I think that the temptation for all of us is to look corporate.
Yes.
That's not helping.
It's not helping, but I think the opposite is another old trick people used to do. It was about the year 2000, and a lot of top marketers, like the sort of online gurus, would underneath their name, they would like have "thanks Bob," and then in little text sent from their like Active Campaign account or whatever. Well, Active Campaign didn't exist back then. From their Infusionsoft account, it would say "sent from my iPhone," and like
Yeah.
it wasn't like because later on it's like here's the unsubscribe link or the modern version of that people are still doing because most people luckily have decided to grow up around that is they'll put a million carriage returns and get a load of space at the bottom of their emails, pushing the unsubscribe link all the way down. That is
Yeah.
the fastest way to get reported as spam. Because if somebody wants off your list, they can't find the unsubscribe link, they're going to hit the spam button. That hurts your reputation more. Don't hide your unsubscribe link. If people want out, let them out. Don't hold them hostage. That's a good soundbite for the promo, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking of letting people out, let's talk about your three things.
Okay.
I think in terms of email marketing, if people haven't learned enough to go and take very meaningful action and they've listened this far, they're a lost cause anyway. There's so much value in all of this. I'm going to have to go back and check my notes. But let's get into your three things people can listen to, go and take meaningful action today. Thing number one.
Thing number one is my favorite book, and it has been for a little while now. It's a book by Michael Masterson called Ready, Fire, Aim. It's a book you're not supposed to sit and read it cover to cover. You're supposed to read if your business is from 0 to 1 million turnover, I think it is, you read and you study and you implement the first section. And then when you move on to if you want to move your business on, you read and implement the second section. It's really, really brilliant from a guy who's built a multi-billion-dollar business. So this is a person who's done it, is in the one of the biggest, if not, I think the biggest publishing company in the world. So yeah, Ready, Fire, Aim, Michael Masterson. Get that audiobook. I have it on Kindle. Oh, no, I don't. I have the physical book, sorry. Yeah, amazing.
You're the second person that I pay attention to as really knowing what they're talking about that's mentioned that book in the last couple of weeks.
Mm.
I can't remember who the other person was. If it was you, I'm sorry. But I'm going to have to go and order that now.
Yeah.
When I spot trends, I have to pay attention.
Yeah, I think so.
So thing number two.
Thing number two is a principle that when I have somebody write copy for me, if I hire out copywriting, it's the note I give most often, and it's the thing I'm obsessed with when coming up with campaigns, and it's this phrase called SIPI, SIPI, and it stands for say it, prove it. We live in a world where people have been making up things for such a long time that we don't know what's true, and we assume most things are not. So when I say something, I try and prove it. Little example. In the fourth or fifth email, can't remember which one, fourth or fifth email, my welcome sequence, we mentioned welcome sequence earlier on, I talk about the fact that I was on stage in front of 1,000 people at this massive event in London called AdCon. And when I said the thing I'm about to teach you, everyone went crazy. The whole point of that email is to weave together a lesson with credibility, the fact that I was on stage and I speak at events. But I want them to know it's true. I'm just
Mm.
saying stuff. So the comment I write in the margins often of copywriters is prove it, prove it, prove it. You can't just say things anymore. You can't just make claims. So the way you prove that kind of thing is after I've said it, I have a picture of me on stage at the event where you can see the silhouettes of like thousands of people in the foreground. I'm on stage like doing the thing. So say it, prove it. Because what you're doing is, remember, all we're doing with our marketing, with our relationships, is we are training behaviors and we're just living up to expectations or letting down expectations that we've set, right? That's all we do. We set expectations, we either meet them or we don't. So say it, prove it.
I love that. I think it's very easy to make claims assuming, even when they're true.
Yeah.
But
Especially
it's
when
very
they're
similar.
true.
There's social proof is a similar thing that most of us have lots of clients who say we're wonderful.
Mm,
The most common um, gap in most businesses I encounter is actually using the proof that you have in abundance.
yeah.
It's always there,
Mm.
but people aren't really shining their light.
Well,
This is
here's a
exactly
little
the same.
an extra like a 2.5 on that then, which is if you on your website don't have, we call it a wall of wins, but like
Mm,
a page which is just if somebody says something nice about us anywhere, I have a team member who's a major part of her job is grabs that screenshot, gets permission from the person, and adds it to our wall of wins. So that is
yeah.
it. I mean, it is like an infinite freaking scroll of like people going, I did this, I joined the program, made 20 grand. I joined the program, I sent my first email. Great results. So people go to the
Yeah.
website, they're looking around and they go, all right. There's no other text on that apart from like the legal compliance of like, these are not guaranteed your typical results, da 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 da. But like, I'm not selling on that page. I'm like, oh, by the way, if you want the program that they're all talking about, here's the button. There's no other copy. Doesn't need to be any other copy.
And I think all these things contribute towards what you described as this environment of zero competition.
Yeah.
I had to write that down. That is such a valuable thing because that's really what this is for. It's trying to separate you from the many and trying to convert you into the mind of your prospect as the one.
Yeah.
And the one they would be fired or laughed at for not hiring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Thing number three. Thing
Yes,
number
please.
three, yeah, is people, we talked about frequency, and the reason people get upset with your email frequency is because they hate surprises. Most people join your email list and they think the transaction's over because you said, "Do you want this thing?" You said, "Do you want this thing?" They said yes. You said the cost is your email address. They gave it to you. You sent the thing. They believe the relationship is over. So when you start showing up with your emails, they're like, "What's this?" So we're going to set expectations. We got to set expectations. That's why on your lead magnet, if your carrot you're dangling, it should be something like, "Hey, join my email newsletter today and get this thing for free," or "Get this thing for free and as a bonus." In my case, mine says something like, "Get this thing for free, and as a bonus, you'll get my daily email marketing tips straight to your inbox for free."
Mm,
Sell them on your email marketing tips, on your tips by email. And then in your first welcome email, this all is linking together. As you can see, it's very strategic. All this stuff links together. And this is obviously, we're just touching the surface here, but that first email of the welcome sequence, remind them, hey, welcome. Here's what you can expect. One, you're going to receive my emails every day, helping you with grow your business with email marketing. Two, What else they can expect? 3, oh, guess what? There's no question in the world that they're not expecting to receive more emails from you. So set up the expectations before opt-in and confirm it in that very first email. And now you've got a really nice, robust system that people are going to be looking forward to your emails. And be specific as you can. If you email every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, say, and you can expect my emails every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. Tell them.
Mm. I'm guilty of not having done that, and it's such a good idea. It's the simplest things
All these
that
simple
set
things.
you up
It's the
for
little
success.
snowball things. It's tiny little
Yeah.
snowball actions. In the same way we communicate with our clients, it's the snowball actions in our own businesses. Like I was working with a client one-to-one yesterday, a consulting thing. They were having a huge problem with their spam complaints. And I said, there's not going to be one thing we're going to install in your business that's going to fix this. It's going to be snowballs. It's going to be this. I did this again with a client a month ago. We reduced her spam complaints by 45% in 11 days, but not with one thing, by doing this, and this. Think
Yeah.
about the little snowballs. Everyone's looking for the one big fix. It doesn't exist. It's lots of tiny actions.
So if anybody's listening thinking, I need some Kennedy in my life, my business would really benefit from an email marketing hero. What does that look like? How can people get into your world?
Yeah, sure. I think, do you know the best thing to do? I think you're probably thinking right now, I'd love to see these emails. I'd love to see what this is all about. The best way to experience email marketing is to really be in among it. So if you want to get on my email list and get a load of free stuff, get my emails every single day, see my welcome sequence, see the typos in my emails, yet they still convert. If you go to emailmarketingheroes.com/leaderbrand, emailmarketingheroes.com/leaderbrand, you can get on that list. You can stay for as long as you want. You can get out if you want at any point, and you can see how we can actually put together these things. And you'll learn a lot even if you never buy anything.
I'm going to go and do that. I think it's time for me to get on your email list and see what good looks like. Um, where do you hang out on social media that you enjoy the most?
Yeah, we have a free Facebook group. It's called the Email Marketing Show Community. So we have a podcast called the Email Marketing Show, like 280 something episodes where we talk about email marketing. But I was like, I need a community around this where people can talk about how to apply it to their business. So I created a free Facebook group a few years ago called the Email Marketing Show Community. So if you go to Facebook, search for the Email Marketing Show Community, come on in there. If you've got questions about the stuff we talked about today, how you implement it in your particular situation, because obviously we're all doing things slightly differently, then you're very, very welcome to come and do that.
I've learned a lot today. I've really enjoyed myself. Spending time with you is never wasted, Kennedy. Thank you very much for your time.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks, Paul.